These are not ghost stories. There are no monsters here. No curses, no unexplained magic. Every story you're about to hear is built on something simple routine. The kind you trust, the kind you repeat without thinking, the kind that makes life feel safe. And that's the problem. Because when something learns your routine better than you do, you don't notice it right away. Story 1. Someone was using my house while I was at work. I never thought of myself as a paranoid person. I was comfortable living alone, comfortable enough to believe that if something was wrong, I would notice immediately. That confidence came from routine. Every weekday looked the same. I woke up around 7, made coffee, worked from home until late afternoon, left the house at almost the exact same time every evening to go for a long walk or run errands. I came back around 9, locked the door, went to sleep. Nothing exciting, nothing suspicious. That routine is why it took me so long to understand what was happening. It started with something so small that I didn't even register it as a problem. One evening, I came home and noticed the kitchen light was on. I'm careful about lights. Not obsessive, just consistent. I always turn them off before leaving. I stood in the doorway for a moment, staring at the switch, trying to remember if I had rushed out earlier. I convinced myself I must have. That explanation became very useful over the next few days. The second thing was the trash. I use one specific trash bag under the sink. When it's full, I tie it, take it outside, and put a new one in immediately. It's automatic. One night, I opened the cabinet and saw a different bag. Same color, same size, different brand. I stood there longer than I should have, holding the edge of the cabinet door, my brain trying to create a reasonable answer. Maybe I bought a different box. Maybe a store substitution. It bothered me, but not enough to scare me. Not yet. A few days later, I noticed the smell. Not garbage, not something rotten. Food, like something warm, had been eaten recently. I checked the fridge. Everything was there. Nothing missing, but the microwave plate was still warm. I hadn't used it that day. I remember standing in the kitchen, staring at the microwave, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, telling myself that appliances hold heat longer than we think. That was the moment I started paying attention. I stopped assuming. I started noticing things that felt improved. The couch pillows were arranged differently, better, more intentional. The bathroom mirror had fewer streaks than usual. Once I found the thermostat adjusted by 2 degrees. Not randomly, comfortably. That's when the idea first crossed my mind. Someone wasn't breaking into my house. They were using it. I tested a theory. The next day, before leaving, I placed a folded receipt under the doormat inside the house. Something I would definitely notice if it moved. When I came back that night, the receipt was still there. Relief washed over me too quickly because the bathroom trash had been emptied. I hadn't done that, and the sink was still damp, not soaked, not dripping, just recently used. That night, I sat on my bed and went through my schedule in my head. Same departure time, same return time, same pattern. I realized something that made my chest tighten. If someone was inside my house, they knew exactly when I was. I called in sick the next day. I didn't leave. I sat in silence. Hours passed. Nothing happened. No sounds. No movement. No changes. That evening, I left for 10 minutes. Just 10. I drove around the block, came back quietly, unlocked the door slowly. The house smelled like coffee fresh. The coffee maker was warm. I don't drink coffee at night. I stood there shaking, not moving, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no breathing, no doors closing. Just a house that felt recently occupied. I checked the locks. It's perfect. No damage, no scratches. That's when it hit me. They weren't forcing entry. They were leaving before I got home. Every time. I slept somewhere else that night. The next morning, I came back early, heart pounding, expecting chaos. Instead, the house looked normal. Too normal, except for one thing. On the counter was a sticky note, blank. No message, just placed where I couldn't miss it. That was the last time anything changed inside my house. No more moved items, no smells, no warmth. It stopped, but I didn't feel safe, because whoever it was didn't disappear. They adjusted, and that's when I understood the worst part. They had been timing me, learning me, using my routine better than I ever had. And if they stopped coming inside, it was because my routine was no longer useful to them. If you realized someone knew your routine this well, would you change it immediately? Or would you pretend nothing happened and hope they moved on? Story 2. My security camera only recorded when I was asleep. I installed the security camera because it made sense, not because I was scared, because it felt responsible. It was one small indoor camera, pointed at the living room, with motion alerts sent directly to my phone. Simple, reliable, at least that's what I thought. The first few nights were uneventful. No alerts, no movement. That actually made me feel better. Then one morning, while scrolling through the app, I noticed something strange. There was a gap from 1:47 a.m. to 5:12 a.m. No footage, no motion events, just nothing. At first, I blamed the Wi-Fi. That night, I tested it. I walked past the camera wave. Motion alert, perfect. Before bed, I checked the app one last time. Everything was working. I slept normally. The next morning, there was another gap, almost the same hours. I checked the system logs. No errors, no disconnects, no manual shutdown. It was as if nothing had happened, except something had. Because the couch pillow was on the floor, I don't use that couch at night. I told myself I must have knocked it off earlier. I'm good at lying to myself when the truth feels unreasonable. That night I stayed up. I sat on the couch with the lights off, phone in my hand, watching the camera feed live. Hours passed, nothing. At around 2:30 a.m., my eyes burned from staying open. I finally went to bed. When I woke up, there was another gap. This time longer. And something else. One motion alert at 3:11 a.m. The thumbnail hadn't loaded. I tapped it. The video was corrupted, frozen halfway through, but not completely. I could see the living room, the couch, and something just off frame. A shadow stretching across the floor. Not moving fast, not rushing, just present. I checked the timestamp. That was when I was asleep. I didn't call the police, not yet, because the camera didn't show a break-in. It didn't show a person clearly. It only showed that the camera worked, just not for me. I moved the camera the next day, pointed it toward the hallway leading to my bedroom. I tested it. Alerts worked. Recording worked. That night, I slept with my phone on my chest. I woke up to the sound of a notification. Motion detected. I didn't move. I opened the app slowly. Live feed. The hallway was empty. But the bedroom door was open. I always close it. I checked the recordings later. There was footage. Clear. The camera recorded someone standing in the hallway, not facing the camera, facing my bedroom, completely still. The recording stopped abruptly. No corruption message, no error, just ended. The next clip started at 5:18 a.m. Empty hallway. That was the last night I used the camera. I unplugged it the next morning. I didn't feel safer with it on, because whatever was in my house didn't care about being seen. It only cared about when I couldn't see back. I still sleep with my phone nearby, still wake up randomly at night, but I don't check recordings anymore, because I realized something that made my stomach drop. The camera never failed. It only stopped recording when I was the one being watched. If you saw that footage once, would you keep the camera on, or would you stop watching before you saw more? Story 3. I stopped hearing noises after I changed my routine. The noises weren't loud. That's why they worked. They started after midnight. Always after midnight. Soft sounds, floorboards settling, a faint shift of weight. Something I could explain if I wanted to. And for a long time, I did. I live alone in a quiet area. No roommates, no pets, no reason for movement when I'm asleep. Still, I told myself houses make noise. The problem was timing. Every sound happened after I turned the lights off, after I got into bed, after my phone screen went dark. Never before. I tested that. One night, I stayed awake with the lights on, TV playing quietly, scrolling on my phone. Nothing. The moment I shut everything off and lay down, I heard it. A single creak, not random, responsive. I stopped breathing. The sound didn't repeat. That's when I realized the noises weren't constant. They were waiting. Over the next few nights, I noticed a pattern. If I rolled over, the sound followed a few seconds later. If I sat up, it stopped completely, like whatever it was didn't want to be noticed. Or worse, didn't want to scare me too quickly. I started sleeping with a lamp on. The noises stopped. Complete silence. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Because silence felt intentional. Like a decision. I changed my routine. I went to bed earlier, then later. Then I slept on the couch. No noises. I stayed up all night once. Nothing. That's when it hit me. The noises weren't tied to the house. They were tied to me. Specifically, to when I was predictable. I stopped being predictable. Different sleep times, different rooms, different lights. And just like that, the noises stopped completely. Days passed, then weeks. No sounds, no movement, no signs. Friends told me it was stress. That my mind finally relaxed. But something felt wrong, because relief came too easily. One night, I broke my new routine by accident. Long day, exhausted. I went to bed early. Lights off, phone down. I woke up just before 3 a.m. Not to a noise, to silence so heavy it felt loud. I lay there, eyes open, heart racing. Then I understood. The noises hadn't stopped because they were gone. They stopped because they no longer needed to follow my routine. Whatever had been paying attention had moved on, and the worst thought settled in slowly. Maybe silence doesn't mean safety. Maybe it just means you're no longer the one being watched. If this video made you rethink your routine, comment what time you usually go to sleep. Like the video if you believe silence can be more dangerous than noise. And subscribe, because these stories aren't about what happened to someone else. They're about what people don't notice until it's their turn.